All right. All right, I officially call to order the November 7th meeting of the Economic Development Committee. This is a hybrid meeting, both in person and virtual. And we have a quorum, so the meeting is officially open. So we still have on our agenda, the first item is approving the meeting minutes from December 12th, 2023. I want to make sure we kind of settle. I don't remember what we came up with last time in terms of who was going to make an attempt at putting those together. I don't, if we didn't, I think I'd like to come away from this at least figuring out who's going to take a stab at that. I wasn't even part of the committee at that point, so does anybody on here recollect? Or I don't think we actually settled on who was going to do that. We passed it around. Is there someone who anyone would suggest? Or do you have any ideas in terms of who would be the best person to do that, to put something together from that meeting? No.
Tony, I think we talked about trying to figure out who was actually there for the meeting and then trying to put some notes together from those folks, but I think a few of us were not there, so we may not be able to assist.
Okay. And I don't know who was there. And there's not a lot of us on right now. Savis, I don't know if you were there for that one.
I was there, but honestly, I don't remember at all.
I know that's gonna be the problem with anybody, I think. So
yeah,
unless anybody objects, I'm gonna send an email out to the group. I think it's okay to do that unless you have any concerns with that, and just ask for someone to volunteer to do it. Is it okay to do that by email since we don't have anybody here? Everybody here, I mean. I don't know if anybody
I think that's fine.
All right, so I will do that. All right, so we're going to pass on approving those minutes, but I will send an email out getting a volunteer to put some semblance of minutes together for that. So I sent around, next was the meeting minutes from our prior meeting, October 10th. I sent that around. I don't know if people had time to review it. I didn't have any edits. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? And then if there's discussion, we can have discussion after that, if we get a motion in a second.
Tony, before we do that, because we're hybrid and we're recording, but we don't have video, can you just identify, and get for the record, just who's in person and who's online from the committee?
Oh, yeah. Apologies. So in person is myself and JJ, our new member, are in person. Yep. And then online we have Heather Monroe and Savis. And I believe that's all we have online, correct? I don't
Yeah,
see
so that's
anybody
4,
else.
and what do we have? 7 members, so that makes a quorum.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. And then when you go to do votes on stuff, Tony, I think we're just gonna have to, you're gonna have to just do roll call. So say with someone's name and ask them how they vote, just because we're having a hybrid component.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I figured that. And then, so it's interesting that we have a quorum, but then like for the meeting minutes, like JJ would probably have to abstain because he wasn't here. So then we really only have 3 people voting. Is that okay?
So usually, so this is always an interesting thing, right? People always get confused on meeting minutes. So if you just make a motion to accept the minutes, you don't actually have had to been present at the time. Remember, there's going to be times when someone has to accept minutes and no one who's currently on the committee actually has any recollection what happened. So I think we just so I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? There's Savis, or you can second JJ too. It's fine.
I second.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All right. So yeah, we have to go person by person. So JJ, yay or nay?
Yay.
Savis?
yes.
Heather?
Yes.
All right. The meeting minutes are approved. All right. So the next item was review and discuss committee charge and deliverables. So I put together kind of a proposed document for that. I kind of edited what was already there. I sent that around. Heather, I think the next step was to get that to the select board. I know they've had a lot on their plate though, but is has that been looked at or sent to the select board, or do I need to do something else to move that along?
No, I don't have that on the select board docket yet, Tony, but if you send it to me again after this meeting and just say, can we put this on the next meeting, we can get it on for the 25th.
Okay. All right, I'm just taking some notes since Jason's not on. He had told me he had a work meeting that conflicted with this. He was going to try and join late by Zoom, but I'll throw minutes together. I'll get this to him. All right. All right. Let's see. The next item was talking about was there anything else, sorry, on discussing the committee charge and deliverables? Like I said, I know I put that document together. I don't know if anybody else here had input. And JJ, you haven't seen that yet, but I'll recirculate it so you can see it.
Cool.
So I know it's a small group of us, but before we move on, any other input in terms of what we want to do, should be doing, et cetera there? And if not, we'll move on. All right, let's see. The next thing was reviewing how the sessions worked for Halloween events and having a presence to get the word out. So again, JJ, you weren't here for that, but so one thing that myself and Jason did, there was 2 trunk or treat events.
Okay.
And I went to the one at Paxton Center School, and I created a pamphlet. The kind of big push right now, we have the special town meeting on November 18th, and part of that is the zoning bylaw changes.
Yep.
So we were trying to just promote that. So at the first event that I went to, the Paxton Center School one, it was great. I passed out flyers to people. I got a lot of positive feedback. 1 or 2 people that had concerns about the livestock changes being an issue. A couple that had, I got a couple of comments along the lines of, people are going to assume that the zoning bylaw changes allow us to bring more businesses in, and then, that's going to make people think that will solve all of our revenue problems. That's a tough thing to answer. I mean, when I talk to people, I'm honest about it. I tell them, no, we're not going to be bringing enough businesses into town to solve the budget deficit that we have. But I try to promote it in a way that, I say you're taking a private property. If somebody sells it, turning it into a business, there's going to be permit fees that go along with that. Property, not just the property tax revenue, but if they have, equipment in there for the business and stuff like that, there can be tax revenue from that. The assessment's likely to go up because they're probably going to revamp the building and improve it before they open their business. And then on top of that, you also have more businesses in town, mean more sponsorships of programs and potentially offsetting costs to departments like recreation and who knows what else, So there's a lot of other positives, right? So it's not going to solve the problem. It's a step in the right direction and just adds the overall character of the town. That's the message that I've been putting out there. At the soccer asylum event, it was the same thing. We talked to a lot of business owners, to a lot of residents. So I would just ask people on this committee, I think it's important that we use social media, talk to family, friends, whoever, and promote that special town meeting and try to get people there to approve the bylaw changes. Anybody have any questions or anything they want to add to that? Good. All right. So the next item on the agenda is just really says next steps. For me, our next steps, our number one focus, I think right now needs to be kind of infrastructure. And like JJ, for you being new to this, like this committee is fairly new in general. Mm-hmm. So a big focus is just gathering a list of all the businesses in town and really trying to build kind of a database of that and being able to communicate with them and things like that. So I've talked to Heather about this. So Heather, there's a spreadsheet that exists. It's a kind of a couple of cobbled together lists that we have in town. It's not comprehensive in terms of all the businesses or in terms of all the data points that we would need, like contact information. Mm-hmm. But Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to send me the spreadsheet that we have, and then we're going to work off of that to, we can talk about splitting it up as a group and how we address it from there in terms of getting more people on it, maybe even going out and individually meeting with businesses, as to gather contact information and their feedback.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Tony. And also, just for the record, Jason just joined us virtually at about 5:11.
Oh, cool. Hi, Jason.
So Jason, they're off on video. It's Tony in person along with JJ, and then Savis and I are also online with you, but the connection at the COA until we upgrade our stuff is poor. They have enough to do audio, but once they go video, it starts getting all broken.
No
But
worries.
yes, so going back to address what Tony was saying, so the former rendition of the EDC, we did put together a comprehensive list, and it's as comprehensive as we could come up with. I'm sure there's definitely avenues and spots we weren't looking at. We were trying to compile what businesses were in town. We cross-referenced, we used Chamber of Commerce list. We used those who have doing business as certificates through the town clerk's office. We looked at personal property businesses and information there. We don't have a lot of contact information specifically. We also looked at Google and tried to use that in our favor as well to try to figure out who had a business in town according to the Google Map piece. But I think Savis is absolutely 100% correct. And we did talk about this earlier today, that once we identify that, I think we're going to need to come up with a comprehensive plan of how to start reaching out and making connections with the business owners, both letting them know the EDC is up and running existing, also let them know what we're doing between, supporting the zoning bylaw change, as well as, starting to promote different things, look at ways to get everyone involved and kind of start small. But I absolutely agree with Tony that the first step is to figure out who again is here, and then how do we start knocking on doors and getting people to pick up phones.
Yeah, and you and I had talked about setting up an EDC Google account. Is that something I can do, or is that something you need to do, or how does that work?
I think we could probably do it either
That would be a
way.
start.
The
Okay.
the only thing I would say is let me just reach out to IT first and make sure they don't have a preference, because sometimes when we have side email accounts and stuff, someone wants to know that they exist and want the login info
Yep.
for them. But I can't imagine they're going to object, but sometimes they know something I don't know and I'm not thinking of. But I think that would be the way to go, is just come up with like a Paxton EDC email for Gmail. And then what we can do is essentially, whether it's one person checking it or whether we just have it automated so it forwards to all the members' addresses, how we can come up with different ways, but it also would give us the ability to have Google Docs. The only thing, and Tony and I talked about this earlier, is with regards to Google Docs, because we are a public body, we need to be careful that it's in, one person has adding and editing rights and everyone else just has viewing rights, so they can see what's there, but they can't actually edit it, so that we're not unintentionally deliberating outside of a meeting.
Right. And for anybody who, again, it's not just me dictating this. Everybody's input's important. Like my vision for once we have that is, one, it's a way to communicate with businesses. Whether it be opportunities for us to reach out to them, or to give them the opportunity to reach out to us, and connect them with individuals, and also in opportunities to maybe sponsor an event or participate in an event that benefits the town and benefits them. And then, again, I see it down the road too, where once we have that list, we categorize it, and then we can create this kind of document for new businesses and existing businesses in town that they can go to, that also has a website link. So again, when Soccer Asylum opened, it would have been great if they could, if they did a whole new roof on that building, if they could have used a Paxton roofer, if they used, to find a carpenter. So we just want people to be able to find, so I picture this comprehensive guide for when someone starts a business in town that says, here's the contacts you probably need. Here's some permits that you might need. Here's how you get those permits. Here's the zoning map. Here's a link to local town businesses that might be able to help you, things like that. And, so that's down the road. Step one, like we said, is really just gathering the businesses and figuring out where to store that and maintain it, and what we do with it from there. But I think that should be a big focus of ours, right now. And once we have that list, probably the first step is, whether it be by email or in person, reaching out to those businesses and sitting down with them and saying, hey, what's gone right? What's gone wrong? Like, how can we, let them know we're here, and see what we can do to help them exist and grow in town. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to that in terms of, what we should be thinking, what we should be doing, with that information?
I like that plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great start. Anybody else? I'll talk all day if you let me, but if there's a excellent. Oh, go ahead.
I was, it's Jason. No, I think it's all good. I just think part of when we were at the soccer asylum there talking to people in town too, like I mean it was consensuous that everybody wanted more businesses in town.
Yeah.
The only pushback I saw was, people were saying, oh well, we don't want a Target or a Walmart, but everybody wants more business in
Right.
town. So I think it's
No.
yeah, those aren't gonna happen anyway. So but yeah, no, all good stuff.
Yeah, and Jason and I were both at the soccer asylum event, and I thought it was pretty cool. We had index cards out, and we had both adults and kids write down like one business they'd like to see in town. And Jason, I thought the results were pretty funny. Like, it was pretty intuitive. It were pretty with the adults, you kind of knew what you were going to get, but it was kind of funny from the kids.
The kids were spot on. I felt like they really
Or-
were good.
There was a lot of ice cream shop came up a lot, coffee shop. There were a lot of feedback, but there was nobody that, to me, the interesting thing was not many people stuttered. Like, some of them were actually excited when you gave it to them. They're like, oh yeah, I've been, this is what I wanted to say. So there's a lot of excitement around the possibility of having more business in town.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, that's the last thing on the, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Tony. Well, I wasn't sure if you knew I was talking, and I was like, oh, look, it's catching it. I guess the only thing I'd say, I think, and I'm totally a broken record on this, right? Like the first real step to doing anything further with businesses is currently getting our zoning passed. So if we can get the revised zoning passed where we can actually do things with the existing businesses and potentially have additional businesses, I think that's our step forward. So I think until that happens, we're kind of on a limbo. Hopefully things will go well in 2 weeks. And then when we set up for our December meeting, we'll just be waiting for the AG to get back to us and approve everything. And then we'll have a direction to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you joined later, but um, yeah, anybody, just so it's on the record, we should all definitely use whatever channels you have to talk about people or talk about this to people, point them to the documents, let them know when the meeting is on November 18th. I'll share it on social media, but everybody feel free to share that, push the meeting. It just happens that stuff will get out there in town, and people will often micro focus on one negative aspect that someone doesn't like, so we just got to get out there in a wholesale manner so people understand this is a lot of time and effort went into this by a lot of really, really smart, capable people, and it's a good thing. Just because it doesn't solve every problem we have, it's a great step in the right direction to make it better here. So, if we don't have anything else on that, one thing I was going to do is just give JJ, the new member of the committee, just give him a minute to introduce himself and let us know what you were thinking, why you joined, or what you little background.
Yeah, so it'll be of a member of the town like 2 years. I think this December. Me and my fiance will have been living here, and yeah, she's on the board of trustees of the library. And so I was kind of thinking it was funny. I can't even remember when I told her, but I told her I was like, if there was ever a committee I wanted to like be a part of in town, like this was the one that I was like interested in. So then when the volunteer opportunity came up, I was like, yeah, I'll apply for that. And then, went in front of the select board and kind of spoke there. And yeah, but I just think this is a good, I think committee to try and, bring in some businesses because, I was attending a lot of the override meetings and a lot of that. And, the big thing is we don't really have a lot of businesses. And I've been attending some of the zoning meetings, and that's been, I think, really helpful, just understanding kind of like what that entails. And it's the one frustration I have is that not a lot of people attend the meetings, and so then people then like to complain that they don't know what's going on when all they had to do was attend a meeting, and they would have had probably their questions answered. But yeah, I'm just excited to kind of be a part of this and hoping to kind of get some more business and more excitement in the town.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thanks.
So yeah, I personally like having somebody who's newer in town. You know, you get a lot of people that get involved. I've been here 20 years. My wife's family grew up here. A lot of, but it's nice having a perspective of somebody who doesn't necessarily have all the history, which it's in a way it's good. We have a lot of people who know this issue and that issue, and sometimes that becomes limiting, in scope. So I think we got a good mix of people on this, so I'm excited about it. Well, excellent. I know it's a short agenda. I have a million things I would love to add to the agenda, but I'm trying to stay focused on just getting off the ground, getting the infrastructure started. Once we started actually gathering the business information, I think there's going to be a lot of work involved there, and then a lot of things that kind of, come to fruition once we have that, or at least a semblance of it. So I will make it my business to really get that going, and get everybody involved with it. So that's all we have on the agenda for new business. Any old business, anything else that needs to be, brought up?
I would say the only thing, Tony, and it's not really old or new. It's kind of in the middle, and that's simply just the follow-up. So we had a position posted for the permitting and community development coordinator, which would directly impact this committee as kind of helping out the committee. And we are very excited. Tiffany Sidholm, who is currently the administrative services manager over at the DPW, will be taking on this position,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
for her to start around the 18th. So that would be great. Although I would never want to take minutes away from Jason because I know how much he really loves them. But
Yeah.
at some point, when she gets settled, maybe hopefully come December, she'll be able to tune into our meetings as well as help us with those minutes.
That's
Great
awesome.
news.
So her should be. I know, right, Jason? You do have an avenue to push back, Jason, if you don't lose the meeting minutes.
That's fine. We're good.
So she's starting. Is it December 18th or November?
November 18th, but we want to
Okay.
give her a little way to get her grip on things and get settled before we start giving her lots of fun stuff.
Awesome. I know Tiffany. She'll be awesome for this. So it's big shoes to fill, but she's gonna do a great job. Cool. So I think I don't think we have anybody from the public on, and nobody else joined, right? So I think the next thing was selecting a date for our next meeting. I'm gonna suggest that we do the next one in person as much as possible. It only because it's gonna be after the vote. So if the vote goes through, there might be a lot to talk about, and I'd like to get I'd like to have one meeting with as many people as possible in person. Although it's fun with just JJ and myself here, but let's try one more in person. We'll have the hybrid option for people who can't join. We'll go from there. I know we're getting kind of the holiday season, but maybe that Thursday, December 5th, or Thursday, December 12th. One of those works.
Work for me.
Okay. Yeah, I can do either one.
Both are good for me.
Nobody has a limitation. I'd suggest. Okay. I'd suggest the 5th.
Yeah, that would work for me better.
If there's
Either
no
one works
pushback.
for me.
All right. We'll do 12/5 at 5 p.m. If for some reason when we send that out, we get some pushback from others in the group, as long as we can get a quorum, I'm okay with it. Or if the 12th works better for more people, we can potentially switch to that. So, but we can figure that out.
Would that be here again? Or
Yeah, Heather, do we have to meet when we do in person? Does it need to be here, or if the public safety complex is available, can we do that? I don't know if there's like any rhyme or reason to that.
So usually the public safety building is not as available because they have training.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah,
we
if
can
that's-
always, we can try the COA again. We also can always do town hall. We do have space up there we could meet.
Okay. All right, so we'll figure
If
that
we
out.
start having 30 people show up at the meeting, it's gonna get cramped, but if we have just the committee and maybe one person, we can make it work.
Okay. I hope we get to the point where there's 30 people showing up for the meetings.
That would be nice.
I know, that'd make me happy. So, cool. All right, so I think we're good. If there's, does anybody have anything else? Otherwise, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, JJ, yay, nay?
Yay.
Heather,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Savas?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So the meeting is officially adjourned. Thanks for your time, everybody.
All right, thanks, Tony. I'll send out the probably just the audio. I don't know if I'll even try the video on this one once it gets
Okay.
downloaded to Zoom in the next day or two.
Perfect. And Jason, I can send you my notes for what went on before you got here.
Yep. I've been taking them since I got here. So good.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.